Please welcome Mike O'Malley.
Everyone warns us that it's going to be difficult. Oh, it's going to be different for me. When I try this, when I try that. You know what happens in the professional world? The writers are like, no, don't do that. No, this is what I mean. Your life is going before your eyes right now, and you're thinking, I've been doing it all wrong.
And now suddenly you're on the other side of the table. People are auditioning for you.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you noticed that really stood out?
Being a showrunner. Oh man, there's going to be too much Addy bullshit on the day. I don't need Addy bullshit.
So many great moments from the interview you're about to see. We've had some great guests come talk to our class, producers, executive producers, directors, actors. This is one where we had a very accomplished actor who's also a showrunner, show creator, come and speak with the students. So many great lessons you're going to see in this video. Before we watch it though, please hit like, subscribe, and comment. We'd love to hear your comments. But now, let's take a look at what Mike O'Malley had to say. All right, let's get started. I'm very excited about my guest tonight. One of my favorite people, but also of all the people I personally know, he's probably the most successful in a vast number of areas. It's really incredible. He's not only been a successful actor in film, television, been a multi-series regular, had a commercial campaign for ESPN where I first saw him, The Rick, which I absolutely loved. He's hosted various game shows, been a playwright, a screenwriter, a producer, a show creator, a show runner, worked with me on Yes Dear, My Name is Earl, Raising Hope. And the only drawback is one time I was flying to Kansas City, and turns out he was on a flight. I was going to see my Jayhawks. Just so happened the Chiefs were playing in the AFC Championship, as were his Patriots. What was that all about?
Born into it.
Well, eventually I was too. But the Chiefs turned the table. But he's just such a great guy. And, when I wrote my book, I reached out to him. I said, can you write an endorsement for me? He wrote a beautiful endorsement. And then I reached out and said, hey, can you come talk to my class? Immediately got back. Of course, Gregg is so fantastic. Such a great guy. Very generous, as evidenced by the fact he's here. Please welcome Mike O'Malley.
Thank you. Thanks, Gregg. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. It's great to be here. It's great to be in your class and seeing your students enthusiastic about our business.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, they're very happy to have you here. Every month in class, I have a theme, They're working actors. We get up and we work on our craft and so forth, but it's a lot about the mindset to be successful long-term. I've been at it for 30 years, you as well. And this month, the theme is the power of courage. And it strikes me that you must have incredible courage to have done so many things before you even knew how to do them. Can you just, before we talk about your actual career, just your mindset through these years to keep jumping through hurdles and overcoming challenges?
I was very lucky in that I was raised in a family that really loved me, loved my siblings. I had grandparents who were very loving, supportive, interested, curious about us. And I think they, I'm sure that they pined or worried that I was going into a business where, there would be, it's not even just the disappointments when you don't get the, creative satisfaction you're looking for, but then there's the financial fallback also. So I was very lucky that I had that kind of ballast in my life. Prior to even attempting it, my aunt was an actress. She, did some Broadway regional theater, wasn't really a television or film actor. But, so we would go to see her do shows, in Boston, around the area. And so it didn't seem to be such a foreign thing. My parents are not in show business. I grew up in New Hampshire.
Right.
I had a great acting teacher, Laura Henry, who I still think teaches out here. I learned Meisner from her, and I learned pretty early because I graduated from college. I went to University of New Hampshire, and then the fall, I was 21, I moved to New York the fall of '88. I'm 59 for those people doing the math right now. I got a clear idea after doing that this was going to take an incredible amount of work. Los Angeles, is odd as it is still seems kind of like other places in the sense that you get in your car, you drive to where you're going. New York City was a very, very, even though I grew up in the Northeast, it was like moving to a foreign country. So it was very, very challenging. So it was more about that, being away from friends and family. The courage to kind of pursue the career, as I said, there was a lot of ballast that came from my friends and my family. And then I had a good teacher, and then I thought that I had the ability, to do these things. But then you go out there and you find out that not everyone is enthusiastic about you as you are.
Right.
And it's funny because I think about what you just asked, and in a show that I was a part of a couple years ago, a show called Heels, which is on Netflix. Please watch it. #Heels.
You created that one, or
I did not create it. I was the showrunner on it, and I was a writer on that, but I also acted in it. It was created by this guy named Michael Waldron, an amazing writer and director. He created the show Chad Powers. He was running a show called Loki for Marvel when this show that he had written, the first season of Heels, was picked up, so he couldn't do both. And so I had worked at Starz before, and I went to work on that and then worked on the second season. In the second season, we had a monologue for a character played by Wild Bill, and you should check it out if you're interested. And the actor Chris Bauer delivered this speech, and part of this was talking, in a way, veiled, talking about acting, in that all of us, and it's probably the only business, other than maybe trying to be a professional wrestler.
The show is about wrestling.
Yeah. Everyone warns us that it's going to be difficult,
Right.
And everyone warns us it's going to be tough, and everyone makes jokes about what we're trying to attempt to do. And yet we say, well, it's going to be different for me.
Yeah,
It's going to be different. This is going to be different. This business needs me, and I have to be in it.
Well, I remember sitting at the table in Kansas the day before I left, and my dad said, well, how the hell are you going to make a living out there?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know, but I'm going to.
Right. And here you are.
Yeah.
And so I think that the courage is first to do it, and then maintaining it. You need friends, and you need other people to believe in you other than yourself.
Right.
That's the hard thing, and you got to find those people.
Yeah.
And you got to avoid the negative people.
Over the years, you have done that. You started at Nickelodeon as one of the big steps. And what I love about that is you embraced it, right? Some people are like, I don't want to do a kids thing, whatever. Right. But you embraced it, and it led to so many things. Tell us a little bit about that.
I had read a book right before I took that job by the actor Charles Grodin.
Yeah.
If you can find this book, it's a memoir about him. It's called It Would Be So Nice If You Weren't Here. I think it's one of the great memoirs. It's an autobiography, his book about his life. And it talks about taking work that's in show business, as long as it doesn't, you don't find it humiliating or it goes against your principles. This idea that, and I think it's even more tangible now, no one is watching anyone's anything. This is just the truth. Everyone who's in this business is, for the most part, people are trying to, they all have that thing that they really want to do, and then there's the other things that are, adjacent to that. And I find that people inside of the business aren't as critical as other people are. People come up to me and they think I'm going to be embarrassed that I was on Nickelodeon, and it's almost like they're, they think they're heckling me. I'm just like, dude, I'm fine. That
Worked
was
out okay.
40 years ago.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And I'm still proud of it.
Yeah, well, you should be, because it was fun. I've been watching clips in preparation for this, and but then you eventually moved to Los Angeles to be an actor, and you started getting some pretty good opportunities. I know Life with Roger was...
Yeah, I was in New York for about 8 years before I got my first series. I shot a pilot for NBC, Life with Roger. It got picked up by the WB, which is a fledgling network that is now, I think, or was the CW, but that doesn't even exist anymore. And so as a result of that, then I got a deal to write and be in another pilot. That didn't happen. Then I got another show, and then after that I got Yes Dear.
you want to talk about the other show? Because I think it's such a
happy to
great
talk about
story about it, you know, because Mike had a great opportunity, the Mike O'Malley Show. I mean, it's amazing that you created that. You came from New Hampshire. That's one of the things I talked about. I came from Kansas. I didn't know anybody. You came from New Hampshire. You created this, and you get the best opportunity, it seems, of all time, show, Mike O'Malley Show, and it didn't work out. Which is
Well, yeah, I mean, it got canceled. It was a mini series. It was 2 episodes. At that point, when I got that show, it was 1999. So I had already been doing Nickelodeon for 5 years. I had done, you know, I think the first show I did for Nickelodeon was maybe 75 episodes. After that, we did, I think, 120 episodes of Guts, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I had Life with Roger, which is, again, that was 20 episodes of a sitcom. Then I wrote a pilot with a guy named Sam Simon who had co-created The Simpsons.
Wow.
And then as a result of that, I got the deal at NBC. And then when we did our pilot, here was the cast of the Mike O'Malley Show. Myself, Kate Walsh,
Wow.
Will Arnett,
Wow.
my sister Carrie, Mark Rosenthal, and Missy Yeager. Yeah, it was a great opportunity. But then the president, Warren Littlefield, who had made the deal with me, and the 3 development executives, John Landgraf, Robin Schwartz, and David Nevins, who had, you know, I had gone with them instead of going at CBS or ABC, they all got fired.
Oh, wow.
So a new guy came in. And, you know, the new guy, you know, didn't want it.
Well, it was an amazing experience for you to get there, and then it leads to our good friend Greg Garcia. And
right. And so 6 months later, well, that was about 6 months later, yeah. I got offered Yes Dear.
Hey, what are you doing up here?
I spent an hour and a half getting Christine all the way up to All Right But Make It Quick, and then your wife showed up.
Wow.
And that show went 6 seasons, 120 episodes. That's where we met.
Yeah.
And I got to work with Greg Garcia, who created My Name is Earl and Raising Hope. And
Yeah, amazing. You know, and that show, so you just got offered it? You didn't audition for it?
I did not audition for it.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's a good way to go. I want more. I want more of those.
It wasn't a big stretch. I was just played dumber.
And so what did you learn from Greg as far as being a showrunner? Because eventually you became a showrunner. What did you learn
well, Greg was just relentlessly funny, incredibly positive. Anytime you came to him and you had a pitch for a joke or you had a thought, he just always plussed it, made it better. Just really, really smart. And wanted to create an atmosphere that was really fun. So that's what I learned from him. He was just a really funny guy.
You know, before we move on, I skipped over the Rick. That's where I first really got to know you. I love those commercials on ESPN, that campaign. You know, and what I really respected about what you were doing too, the way you underplayed it was just so beautiful.
Hi, my name is Rick, but everybody calls me The Rick.
That was that character was created by a guy named Steve O'Brien, who's from Massachusetts. This is before I had the Mike O'Malley Show. We shot those commercials in '98. They were directed by Christopher Guest.
Yeah.
So Christopher Guest had, at that point, you know, really established the mockumentary sort of style for commercials.
I'll go in a chat room, and I'll meet people. People do trash talk in the chat room.
He was, you know, kind of this sad sack guy who's living at home and collecting, you know, dolls.
These are my sports figurines. Now, you know something, a lot of people call these dolls. They're not dolls, they're sports figurines. And I just want to get that straight.
He was just a crazy fanatic. But to your point about the style of the delivery, rather than the face painting kind of stereotypical, you know, this guy was like, no, I take this really seriously. And, I don't like people, you know, like, I'm dating myself, but Bill Buckner was a baseball player who had famously made an error. And if you're from Boston and travel anywhere else, people wouldn't say this to you in Boston, but they'd just be like, Buckner this and Buckner that. And we did one ad that we just completely ad-libbed. And I was like, everywhere I go, people like, Buckner this.
I just wanted to say, hey, You know, those who have not committed errors, you throw the first stones.
Yeah, they're brilliant. If you get a chance, go on YouTube and just watch some of them. I mean, they're absolutely brilliant. So talk a little bit, I want to talk more about your acting, but being a playwright, I'm so impressed with the plays
Thanks.
that you've written. I was in Larry Moss's class once, a great acting teacher, and somebody was doing a scene, he goes, "This is from Mike O'Malley." I'm like, "The Mike O'Malley I know?
Yeah,
He wrote
yeah.
this?" So, fantastic. Talk about how you decided to become a playwright, the purpose.
Well, I think that everyone, first off, how many people are in this class are actors primarily? Everybody? Yeah, you should start writing. I really wanted to write myself a part that I wasn't getting cast in. So like I'm starting out, like if somebody was a contemporary of mine was John Cusack, right, who I ended up doing a movie with in '98, Pushing Tin, and an amazing guy. But, you know, here's John Cusack, and he's working in movies.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, I think we're the same year in high school, same year in college. And I'm like, well, how do I, you know, do that? How do I get anybody to see me? I'm just getting older every year.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I have to do is I'm going to have to write myself a part and do that. And then, you know, somebody half the reason you're doing it to meet girls, right? And and then the other reason you're doing it is because somebody knows one casting director or a casting associate, and they bring them, and then you start to get work. So it was like it's just insane now, because now everything is self-tape and you can do short films, but it just was not the way it was back then. You had to literally like put on a show, come see me.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we did some of those showcase type things as well, but I so admired you for jumping in and saying, well, now I'm a playwright and I'm going to create my own.
And then I got lucky, you know, I had some people who, you know, supported putting me on. I had some friends, one friend at Nickelodeon who put a little money in it, another friend of mine from college, I think the budget was like $10,000. And then another friend, he knew somebody from Samuel French. The guy who worked at Samuel French came and he's like, well, this is a scene about, you know, the first play I wrote was called 3 Years from 30. And then I wrote another play called Diverting Devotion a couple of years later. And they're all, you know, it was for people in their 20s. And then as a result of the play getting published by Samuel French, that then, it conferred a legitimacy on it.
Yeah.
Now, this is a, you know, play you can buy for $8 or something. And but even still, I mean, that was '94. It's 32 years later, and kids are still doing it in acting class.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Which I think is great.
So let's get back to your acting. And so on Yes Dear, we met each other on Yes Dear, and then we did My Name is Earl with Greg Garcia as well. Kenny was the first one off of Earl's list. Turns out that Earl picked on Kenny because he was gay. And then the seasons progress. Officer Stewart comes in.
This is Kenny James's house. Every other day we're out here for something, either us or the fireman. He's had to be revived by the lifeguard Steve at the public pool a bunch of times. Talk about bad luck. Kenny!
Oh, hi, Stuart. I made oatmeal raisin, your favorite.
And then it turns out Kenny and Stewart have a little thing. I think if we'd gone into season 5, we might have got married. But, you know, playing a gay character, I actually started to receive some prejudice, you know?
Really?
There were people back in Kansas who weren't happy I was playing it. And I remember going to a grocery store, and I used to be the Del Taco guy, and for 5 years I was a Del Taco guy. Anywhere I went, people were laughing at, "It's Del Taco guy." And so I was at this grocery store. I'm doing both at this time. And these two employees are kind of snickering and looking at me. And then they walk by on their way back to the back, and one of them goes, "I'm sorry to say this, but I got to tell the truth." One of them goes, "Faggot," and go in back. And I'm like, "What?" And I didn't know what to say. I was so taken back. But it makes me think about the role you played on Glee and that moment when you came in and stood up for Kurt, your son, who was basically called the same thing. Talk to us about playing that role on Glee, which got you an Emmy nomination, and particularly that scene. It was so beautiful.
They called me and they said, you know, do you want to do this episode of Glee? And it was just like, you know, whatever, it's a guest star, right? And so I was reading the part and I thought, for those of you who haven't seen it, is a guy, you know, a mechanic, owns a tire shop, mechanic shop in Ohio, dressed not unlike this, probably not the rips and the jeans. And his son is gay, very, not overly flamboyant, but he's not out. This character, as I'm reading it, I thought this is just going to be the stereotypical, dad who's just intolerant of his son. And I was like, I don't want to, I'm not going to throw more, gas on that fire. And then I got to the end of it, and they had written it brilliantly, where the kid comes out, Chris Gopher, who was amazing. He was like 19 years old when we did this. And he comes out, he says,
I'm gay.
I know.
Really?
I've known since you were 3. All you wanted for your birthday was a pair of sensible heels.
What I liked about how they wrote it was, he's like, I love you. I don't know anything about this. I don't know how to be a dad about this. And he didn't turn into like this guy who, was then, at the Pride Parade or, let's watch Bravo together or anything like that. He was just like, all right, let me try to sort of figure this out. That was really well written.
Right.
And they had they really gave those scenes space. Mm-hmm. Not only that, the scenes were really about something.
Right.
So it's easy, I think, to play scenes where the emotional stakes are clear.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is do it like you do it in real life.
You've also worked in a lot of major motion pictures, with Tom Hanks in Sully and in Concussion with Will Smith and so many others. If any of these actors ever ended up in a scene with one of these legendary actors, what would you suggest they do in terms of not thinking, oh my God, that's Will Smith?
It is a unique experience to all of a sudden be across from somebody who you've seen 8 gazillion times and whose work you admire. It's odd, even considering, that we shot that in 2017, and so at that point, I'm 50 years old, and I'm meeting him. I think that Tom, listen, these guys were just and Sandra Bullock, Julia Roberts, again, all these people. Like I was in 28 Days with Sandra Bullock. I did Eat, Pray, Love with Julia Roberts. I'll just say this, Viola Davis is an amazing actor. Let me tell you how amazing an actor she is. She acted like she loved me as her husband in this show. You can see it, man. Funny. She was like, it's either me or Denzel. But she was amazing. All these people started out just like you. And look, things happen because they're all extraordinarily talented,
and
extraordinarily relatable, but I think it's just relax. You got to really know your lines. Anybody who tells you I like to keep it fresh, I don't know what to say. Nope.
Yeah.
Don't ever be that person. And a guy like Clint Eastwood. He, it's interesting because he worked with all horses on these Westerns. So they didn't yell, sound, rolling,
right.
You know what I mean? Because they didn't want to scare the horses in the Westerns. And then all of a sudden, Clint will come up and he'll go, and go.
Yeah.
And, so you start.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there, and it's like for a half a minute after whatever is scripted is on there, he'll go, and stop. and then he moves on sometimes after one take.
Yeah, I worked with Clint Eastwood on The Changeling, too, and I had the same situation. I'm like, I better not screw up my line. And sure enough, I was fine. We moved right on, you know. So I know that, well, now you started writing lines for people. You know, you became a writer for Shameless, created Survivor's Remorse. It's just amazing that you were able to transition into being a successful writer and a show creator, and then you ran Heels and you ran Extended Family, showrunner for both of those, and now suddenly you're on the other side of the table. People are auditioning for you. So what are some things that you noticed that really stood out, or things that you didn't like when you saw actors?
Yeah, I took a writing job on Shameless. I actually took a punch-up job where we went, John Wells had adapted the Paul Abbott's Shameless was a very successful English show, and he had adapted it into a show for. It was first HBO, and then it was Showtime, where I was just, there's a couple different things in the Writers Guild where you can get paid if you just go in on a Saturday and sort of pitch jokes. I had done that with a couple other people, and then a job came up to be on the writing staff. But it was just like, yeah, you're just like not even low man on the totem pole. This is a consulting producer job. We work 3 days a week, but I knew that I was going to get it would be like drinking from a fire hose in terms of the experience I was going to get from working with John Wells. You're learning stuff. Then John and I wrote a couple pilots together. Wow. We made one. We didn't do one. Right. And but then it was also at a time when the business was expanding. And so, again, this is back at that time, Survivor's Remorse, that's 2013. So I know this sounds crazy, but there was like 200 shows back then. Mm-hmm. So it was this, now I think there's even 500, but this is before that. And one of the appealing things about going to work at a place like Starz, you might get paid a little less money, but you'd be able to write exactly what you wanted.
But what about the casting itself for you when you saw actors suddenly on the other side and you're choosing?
Well, I'm just hardcore about the lines. So if they didn't know the lines or they changed the lines all the time in the audition process, I knew that was going to be a problem for me because I'm very exacting on the words. When you work in television comedy in particular, you're constantly, it is a constantly evolving thing, especially sitcoms. Yeah. Because you worked all week on a line, you thought it was good, no one laughed.
Yeah.
But the camera was, nope, no one laughed. It's not funny.
And here's your new
We can put a laugh in otherwise. Yeah. Okay, everyone at home won't laugh and they'll hear a laugh and they'll be like, why is there a laugh there? It's not funny.
I'm so impressed that you were able to make that transition to being a showrunner and coming from New Hampshire and all the things you've done. And now you're working again all the time as an actor. If I'm not mistaken, are you a recurring character on Fire Country, Nemesis, and Abbott Elementary right now?
Yes. If you haven't watched Nemesis, I've been killed.
Okay.
I'm in my corrupt cop phase. It's a great time to be my age, and slightly overweight white guy.
That being said, what do you wish you knew when you were starting out that you do know now?
I think I took too long on writing the third play that I wrote, turning it into a movie. I wrote a third play, Searching for Certainty. We had a great production out here that really led to a lot of people being aware of my writing work because my agents brought a lot of people there. One agent in particular really responded to it. When you have an agent who's respected, giving the material, people saying it's really good. It was about a young Catholic couple who is going to a thing called pre-Cana. When you get married in the Catholic Church, you have to go to a sort of a wedding preparation program, basically. It's saying, hey, we've had some of these not work out. So maybe you should ask some of these questions and spend some time talking to one another. The idea being that, a wedding is a day, but a marriage is a lifetime. And so I wrote a play because my sister had gone. She gave me the first idea to it. My younger sister, Marianne, amazing sister, she got married before I did. She's a couple years younger than me, and she came back from her pre-Cana. She says, Mike, you gotta write about this. And I wished I hadn't we made a movie about it. It's on, I think you can get it on Apple TV. It's called Certainty. I'm very proud of it. But I wish somebody had told me not to spend so much time on one thing, being very exacting about it. And so anyone who's writing something, or if you're working on something, one of the things that you all can do is you all can order a couple dozen bagels on a Saturday or Sunday and invite your friends over and read something out loud that one of your friends has written. And you can do that, and then they can be, active in that way. I think I spent too much time trying to make that thing perfect instead of doing that and working on other things as I went.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions real quick? We can take 2 questions.
Yes.
Bernadette?
Hi.
Hi.
Irish Catholic also.
All right.
I don't know if you auditioned for anything, but like,
I do still audition, yeah.
I was just wondering, like, number of takes, and then obviously they're fantastic writers. Could we add a little button at the end, improv, or should we not?
Really never add in comedy, and I'll tell you why. There is a metronome that all these comedic writers have about how things should go. And by the time it ever gets to your hands, it has been noted by everyone in the room going, I think it should be your, not you are. I think it should be, it should end in a preposition and the joke should be moved here. We need this sound here. And so it's so hard, especially as a comedy writer, to ever hear your lines spoken the way you wrote them. After you've been through the, swamp of people chucking things at your head. Now, look, I know we've all heard the, comedic examples of, whether it's Danny DeVito walks in at the Taxi audition and throws the script down and says, this thing's shit. And then he gets the job of Louis De Palma. And, he had already been in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Everyone knew who that guy was. And they were friends. The business was smaller.
Yeah.
They want to know that you're not going to be a problem. I don't want you sitting there right now thinking, "Oh my God, that's why I didn't get that job." Or that job. I can see you just, your life is going, your life is going before your eyes right now, and you're thinking, "I've been doing it all wrong for 22 years." No, I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that there's not examples of that. I'm giving you now this perspective of having been on the other side, being an actor, and being a showrunner. If I was to see you do that and you weren't completely nailing everything else, I'd be like, oh man, there's going to be too much Addy bullshit on the day. I don't need Addy bullshit. Because it's a miracle for you to have everyone knowing their lines, saying them as written.
All right. All right, one more question. Yeah, Heather?
I was very intrigued by what you were saying about don't write questions.
Right.
But I don't fully understand it.
Okay.
I was wondering if you could.
Well, I have a friend who Mary McCormack, who's a great actress, who pointed this out to me. She says, unless you're interrogating somebody, you're a therapist, or a mom or a dad, sort of questioning kids. If you're asking questions, you're helping the other character through the scene. And you don't want that. So let me give you an example. In real life, hey, how you doing? I'm okay. How are you? Good. Yep. What do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. Whatever you. Now, that sounds like every day, right? And there's, if you're doing some mumblecore movie, that's the thing. Now you're trying to be like a couple that doesn't, a guy who's had a bad day. Slams the door. Don't slam the fucking door. Don't tell me what to do. Hey, you're the one who just brought in a bad attitude. You didn't need to say that. You saw that I slammed the door. You realized I was upset. And you didn't come and ask me, what's wrong? You said, don't slam the door. Now, what are you doing? You're really paying attention right now. And so I'm just saying that one of the things that I've learned from writing and going through the process of, think about it this way. When you're walking down the street and you hear people laughing, do you try to hear what they're saying to one another? No? You're like, oh, look at these people have a good time. What about if you hear people arguing? You're like, oh shit. What are they saying? Now I know as a guy, I'm like, I want to hear what he said, so I don't say that. I don't want to be in that, circumstance. Maybe you've been in this situation, especially if you live in a city, right? Someone's on a stoop, somebody's crying. It's either the guy or the girl. Oh my God, well, what are they? Who said something? We are watching people in scenes come up against each other. But in particular, what can happen, I think, as a writer, one of the reasons I do it, sometimes I'm not there. And here's something I think is a scourge of acting classes. Sorry, Greg. One of the scourges of acting classes, and I say this as somebody who's been in an acting class, is that the writer isn't there. So you're learning, you're doing a Tennessee Williams scene, you're doing an Aaron Sorkin scene, you're doing a John Patrick Shanley scene, you're doing an August Wilson scene, and you're like, it could mean this, it could mean that. Why don't I try this? Why don't I try that? You know what happens in the professional world? The writer says like, no, don't do that. No, this is what I mean. I know, but you say this thing, okay, I'll change it. So it says exactly what I mean. Because this is what I mean. And because I'm getting notes from the network or the studio and whatever, and they want to be tracking what people are feeling and doing. And as actors, we are trying to invent shit to be inventive. Okay? And one of the reasons that I take the questions out is because I know people are arguing. I know what their point of view is. It's very clear. He said that, she said that. She said this, she said that. Now we're in the thing. It doesn't always work, but it's a way to make your... and again, this is my style of writing. I'm kind of like, what's different about today than any other day? Today is the day we tell the truth. Today is the day we have the conversation about the thing we have to have on, whether comedically or this. You know, oftentimes when I write episodes of television, it takes place over one day. You know what I mean? Here's the episode, this is the thing, we've got to figure it out. And so you're constantly fighting as a creator. Well, what is this show about? What's the story? Well, the story is this person did this thing, fucked it up. The other fucking person comes in, fucks that shit up. Now they got to fuck it up, and now they're going to try to solve that thing, but they have a different attitude about how to solve that thing. And now they're arguing about that. And so you don't have to manufacture an objective. I don't want any of this. Like literally, I don't want any of this bullshit. Ask me that question again that you asked me.
I was really fascinated by what your comment about no questions in writing. Could you talk more about that?
It's funny. You know, there is something about, I don't know, just scenes where what we want from our actors is sometimes for them to be very quiet, sometimes not. You know what I'm saying? You know, all this bullshit. All this bullshit. What's going on in the scene? Hey, did you spill this? What? Did you think? Yeah, no. It's like the way I always laugh when I watch Law and Order. When people like, you know, you watch those old Law and Order episodes and a cop comes by, and I lived in New York for 10 years. And so I was like, hey, where were you on the night of, it's like, the guy's like, Jimmy wasn't here. You know, I was over here. What are you doing? I'm stacking the books, and the people over there, and they're doing this. And they're like, and the cops are following him. It's like, well, you know, Jimmy, yeah, he's a good guy, but if a cop came to me, a detective, I'd be like, Joe, the cops are here. I need to talk to him. Yes? What? Sit down. Whatever you want. No, I'm right here. No, I'm listening. What are the questions? What? But what do they do in Law and Order? They gotta fucking, they can't make it look like Dragnet, like wide shot, short, tight shot. They gotta just like, hey, let's keep it active. You know, so the detective is there asking about like a girl they work with who was just found in a dumpster, and they're just like, yeah, Caitlin she's a good chick, but anyways, yeah, I gotta clean these glasses, and hey Joe, give me the other thing, beep 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 beep. Anyways, yeah, it's just all that extraneous bullshit. You had one question before we get to the scenes. Yes, go ahead.
Wow, that was hilarious. My name is Charles.
Hey, Charles.
I am stepping into now behind the camera. I'm stepping into writing and producing. And my question was more so, how do you balance still being an actor and being in front of the camera while navigating and building your life behind the camera?
Well, that's a good question. A lot of if I'm not writing a part for myself, a lot of that balance has to be about hoping that my representatives are doing that for me, right? Yeah. I think one of the things that you have to do, and I started doing it a little bit more, and I encourage you all to do this, is what I just said. This is a time where people, it's a business really hard, really constricting, really hard. And anytime you hear someone say that, smile. Now, I'm not saying if you have a friend who's going through something and really trying to make a decision about whether to be in it or not, let those people leave. Go. It is hard. You don't get to do, like I said, not everybody gets to be Daniel Day-Lewis and Sean Penn and Meryl Streep and you name it. Who's your favorite actor?
Right now, Idris and Corey Hawkins.
Okay, there you go. Well, so not everyone gets to be him, right? Not everyone gets to be Matt Damon, you know? And all of those guys are deserving of their success because they're unbelievable. And they've had their own ups and downs. But one of the ways to balance the acting is to make things happen. Like, I'm literally like, think about what you spend on coffee, internet, gas. Go over to the littlest bookstore, which is right over here, buy a play, buy a couple copies, and read it out loud. Go read some play that you don't know. Because then you're going to get people, what are you doing? Let's read this play today. And then we'll go on a hike and do it. You'll start to be like building a community. But also, you all have friends and you all know somebody who's reading a script, who has a script that hasn't been read. Let's read it. And this is what we've been doing at my house, because we've done this about 8 times in the past year. No one's allowed to give notes. We are that night. We are reading the play. We are reading the screenplay. We are reading the pilot. We are celebrating the accomplishment of the writer. We're connecting with people. You can do these things. And from that, collision of personalities, opportunities will come from it. And I'm not saying like opportunities. I mean, you don't even know you don't even know what seed you're setting for some future, reaping. Okay. But what you are doing is that you're living the life of an actor. You're reading plays, you're getting together with people, you're making friends, you're feeling that energy to come together, but you have to do it. So, and by the way, do it in a park. Oh, I don't have the space. I mean, literally, do it. If all of you do that, if all of you did that 4 times over the next, 4 times, once a month, up until next Christmas, watch what starts to happen. Because one of you is going to decide, I'm going to shoot something. And one of you is going to decide, this thing we should make. And one of you is going to decide, we should put this on. And then people come, right? That's the good news about this business. Every day people are waking up looking for the next thing to make. And the only way it starts to happen is if you're trying to make shit.
Yeah, well, over this incredible career, you have created so much, Mike.
Thanks.
It's so impressive in
Thank
so
you.
many avenues. And I know the actors want to work with you. You're going to have a great perspective, both from an actor and from a showrunner's perspective to see them work. But I really appreciate you being here and sharing all this. So
Thanks,
once again,
Greg.
thank you,
Thank you.
Mike.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
A big thank you to Mike O'Malley for coming and working with our students, working with our class. Another great guest that we've had. If you want to come down and check out our classes right here in North Hollywood, go to greggbinkley.com for more information and come by for a free audit. In the meantime, keep working.